Welcome to the World of Ability Podcast Network and today's edition of WorkAbility. We have Tim Trozian and Neil Weber joining us tonight hosting this awesome show. We are here on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. for WorkAbility. And with no further ado, I'm going to pass this on over to the amazing Tim Trozian and Neil Weber. Take it away, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Hi. I was looking forward to this, but I wasn't sure, Anyway, Neil, nice. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Sorry, but missed last week. I just had some other things going on, and I just neglected to appear. So here I am. I'm back.
All right. Well, that's great. It's not. I mean, if you're like me, and this is the way I am, I'm not prepared, and so I'm not prepared. I'm not worried, and I used to be, and I never have really. I'm never really that worried. But I thought I had this concept this week I would try out, and it's more like an economics view of things,
Sure.
like from the sky, looking down at things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's the purpose of having disability checks and disability economics, and why? And I think I have the answer, but why don't I just ask you, why do we have this? What's the reason for this?
Yeah, I think the federal government recognizes that human beings aren't perfect, and that part as a citizen, the responsibility of the federal government to the individual as a taxpayer who's earned at least 40 quarters of work is to provide for their care in an event of disability, which occurs rather frequently in our society.
So is it like disability insurance?
Yes, that's exactly what it's called. Social Security Disability Insurance. That's exactly what it is. It's a federal program which protects workers who have bought into the system through their own labor against disability by providing a check.
So isn't there an assumption here that everybody's working, regardless if you're in the system or not? If you apply, you're welcome to get this.
Well, not everyone earns it. No, people I know have tried to earn the right to receive disability income, and they have not. And so it is a voluntary program by the federal government, and they have certain requirements and guidelines to go by, and they don't choose everyone who applies for disability.
Okay. Now, do you know what percentage of people that apply get it?
I don't. That's something one could probably find out online, but I don't know that answer.
Okay. All right. And how do you feel about people that don't deserve the disability income? Do you have an opinion?
Hopefully it's a small percentage that are receiving it that don't deserve it, and if they are receiving it and don't deserve it, that's their own conscience, and they have to live with that. I think it's probably a relatively small percentage because I think the federal government sets pretty strict guidelines as to who receives disability income.
Mm-hmm. So they just and then I think we talked about this before. If you're thinking it's just temporary, you're just going to have this disability income until you get off of disability and get it. Like unemployment, like you get the disability check, you figure, well, someday I can just earn a living without getting this, and I don't really need this, and it's just temporary. So how many of those people actually, turn in their check and say, I don't need that, I'm just going to work?
Well, according to statistics I've seen by the Pathways Foundation that studied the Grand Avenue Club members, about 1% of people who are on disability leave the program and become what is called substantial gainful employment, or substantial gainful activity, which is the same as substantial gainful employment.
Well, okay. So what would happen if we didn't have disability insurance? I mean,
well, I think a lot of people would, be in very dire straits. They'd either be living in homeless shelters, or they'd be relying on family, or they'd be on the streets. There'd be a lot of suffering that is currently alleviated. I know, people that have a separate disability and they've been able to work, but I know people that would not be able to work if they didn't have disability income.
Sure. Yeah, they'd be in dire straits.
Correct.
Of course. So, how do we have this show? And because we've been doing the show, Neil, you and I, and how do we do this in a framework that everybody understands, not just people? How do we explain this program and how it's good and how it's bad, and so that everybody can appreciate the show, not just disabled people or who get the disability check, which I think we're just talking about people who get the check, but maybe we're talking about a bigger subject here. I don't know.
Well, I think everyone has handicaps. The question is, do your handicaps prevent you from working? And that's the question.
Okay. That is better. That's a really focused way of discussing it. Do they keep you from otherwise working? Did you end up in this situation because you got handicapped, or were you born handicapped, or right? Who?
You're right. Well, we have to look at some of the famous people in history. Helen Keller was deaf, dumb, and blind, and yet because there was no Social Security disability insurance, and she had a strong supportive family and a teacher, a governess, she was able to provide for herself. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, had infantile polio, but was able to rise to the level of President of the United States and was able to work within his disability to achieve great status. And I was three-term president. And I didn't know this till recently, but John F. Kennedy had Addison's disease, which apparently is a disease which affects the adrenal glands, and he was able to become president of the United States. So there are, and I know of 40 people in the Milwaukee areas who overcame their disability to work. So it is possible. And two of my coworkers overcame their disabilities to work full time. So it is possible to do it. It's just very challenging. It's very challenging to live with a disability and overcome it to work full time. Work has a lot of stressors with it.
You work with people at the Grand Avenue Club.
Correct.
Well, what kind of feedback do you get from them? What is their purpose? You get respect. Do they? Yeah. What is the purpose of the Grand Avenue Club? And
purpose of the Grand Avenue Club?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's to assist those with mental illness to have community. And assistance in pre-vocational and vocational support. So, I think the ordinary person really wants to work, and yet about 70 to 80% of those with mental illness on disability are not able to work. So those people at the Grand Avenue Club, many of them are not able to work. So they volunteer their time at the Grand Avenue Club to have a sense of purpose and fulfillment and community that the Grand Avenue Club offers to them. A limited number of them, probably 20 in nature, are able to work part-time, and a rare person is able to go on to full-time employment.
So from what I understand, in the Grand Avenue Club, a lot of them, they're not unemployed. They're just partially.
Well, a lot of them are unemployed. 80% are unemployed. About 20 total, about 20 members are working part-time.
Okay.
20 to 30.
Okay, 20 to 30.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm trying to focus here. I mean, where are we going, right?
Well, I'd like to talk about the fact that within the disability is the opportunity. I think within the disability, oftentimes disabilities can be caused by character flaws. And I think in those character flaws, you have the opportunity to correct those character flaws and live a meaningful, substantial life. And I think it depends on what is the nature of your disability. Is it blindness? I know people who are blind who are working full time. I know people who, I know a gentleman who is, in a wheelchair and is not able to move his body, but he's a full-time engineer, and he was disabled by a car accident. And yet I know his driver has no limb challenges, and his mental health I'm not sure how good his mental health is, but he's able to hold down 2 part-time jobs, one declared income and one undeclared. And he provides a driving service for this gentleman who is working full-time and not on benefits. So I think it really depends on the character of the individual and, of course, their health to determine if they could work full-time or not.
Is there anything that disability provides to?
Well, sometimes
prove
they provide
that they're disabled?
They can provide a wheelchair. They can provide vision equipment that is helpful in that. They can provide, the employers are required, I believe, to some degree, to provide assistance to accommodate a person in their disability. So that is something that's often required. So yeah, I think the disabled network is able to help as well.
What about rehabilitative help from disability? Is there anything like that from the Social Security?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I know that there is the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, which does a limited amount of that. They do some testing, and they do fun schooling, and so those things are offered. But as far as other rehabilitation techniques, I don't know about that.
Oh. Has Donald Trump threatened to cancel the disability program?
I don't know what he's threatened to do. He's cutting Medicare. I know that. Medicaid, rather. He's cutting Medicaid, and I'm sure that's affecting disability as well. Okay. Because
sometimes I think we need to take, you and I need to take inventory about what is the program, what's the purpose, what's our purpose inside the program, and those are kind of related. Like we talk about, and what is the scope of our discussion? Like, are we talking about the payment system? Or are we talking about people who are disabled and they don't know what to do?
Yeah, I think the Grand Avenue Club really offers a sense of purpose to individuals' lives, and other organizations as well, like Our Space, which is on 16th and National, another support group for people who are on disability. And I think those 2 organizations really provide a sense of purpose for individuals who lack that sense because they do not have organized activities for their life.
Is that a big program?
Which one? Our Space or Grand Avenue?
Yeah, your Our Space in York and Grand Avenue, are those?
Yeah, they're fairly large. Grand Avenue Club serves about 1,500 to 2,000 members, and I'm not sure how many people Our Space serves, but at least several hundred.
That's a lot. There's a whole lot of people. I had no idea. Yeah, I had this vision of 20 people getting together in a hallway.
No. They have Grand Avenue Club has 4 floors that serve, probably who knows, 10,000 square feet. I don't know exactly, but a lot of space. 4 floors of building that serves these individuals.
Well, that's really, that has to be impressive. It just that people that they maybe they have someplace else to go, but maybe they feel like this is a great place to be. The Grand Avenue Club is a great place for them, and and that they stick around.
Correct.
Well, it's pretty impressive.
Have been members. Some people have been members for years. I've been a member since 2003. So, some people have been members for years. Yes.
So it's not like what would you say of the disability whole concept of it? I mean, are you frustrated with it? Or do you like it? You accept it? But
I think
what is
you
it
have
about?
to come. Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to assess where you're at in your mental and physical health, and I think you have to make an honest assessment of that and see what needs you have and whether you truly need assistance or whether you don't. And I think that's the core issue. Yes.
Do you need assistance outside of the financial assistance? What kind of assistance do you personally need? Because I understand you're on disability.
Yes, I need financial.
Yeah.
I need financial assistance. Correct. At this time in my life, yes.
Is there anything else besides that?
No, I do take medication. I do.
Okay.
I do. I go for counseling and I take medication. I take six pills. So I do those as well. So yes.
Okay. Huh. Well, I just, I was, the view from the sky, the macro view, I call it, like macroeconomics, or what is it about the economy that makes this attractive, versus, well, those people, they don't want to work. They just want, whatever, that whole, no, we're not really going to discuss the stigma about it, but what is it about the whole concept of that's attractive, that is positive and progressive. And so if you have full employment, which is just an economic and concept from decades ago when everybody has a job. Right. So now you have the least of us who, maybe we're not employable. Maybe employers pass us up and no, we're just going to make sure they stay in the, make sure they can still be consumers. So here's some money. And if you want to work on the side, because a lot of people with disability checks, they can have some employment on the side and Correct. Still receive their checks.
Yeah, $1,200 a month or $1,550 a month. That's correct.
Yeah, and so that means more of us can work. More of us can participate in the economy, and it's a very, very nice thing. And then it just seems like our government, and if I sound overly positive, you could stop me, but it just seems like we're finding answers to solutions for individual Americans and protections for Americans. And to be able to have money to spend in the economy is a protection. And that's how we see it as Americans. It's, if you want to be a part of society, you want to be able to spend money. Maybe you want to have a family. You can still be on disability.
Sure.
It doesn't restrict you in any way, which is a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still maybe buy a house and, have a family, have a job, all while you're on disability.
Correct.
And so maybe there's concepts out there that disability people can't do this and they can't do that, but to me, from the sky, looking at it from a distance, looking at it, dissecting it, investigating it, it just means that more of us can enjoy the American way of life, and in peace and prosperity. And so as we look at this, and if you want to keep looking at it, we're going to keep taking it apart and looking at it, investigating it, and maybe helping it along. Or I don't know. I think the Grand Avenue Club could be a big part of this, show.
Sure. Well, we can interview members and we can talk to them and see what we can find out from them and see what they want to contribute to the show. That might be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, because what we do helps one person. I think that's good. if we help one person at a time, we're fine. We're, I know it makes me feel better. I mean, I have my moments too. I'm disabled.
Sure.
Sometimes I screw up bad, but, but this probably keeps people out of jail anyway.
And off the streets and out of the mental hospitals. I think that's the biggest challenge, is keeps people out of the mental hospitals. And I think that's very, very supportive. And away from suicide. I think that's another temptation. The isolation of being in your apartment all the time might lead to suicide. I think that's a real temptation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a serious subject, and
yes,
I would leave it on the table for discussion. And
sure.
And yeah, it's maybe because as a social scientist, it's what kind of economist is what I think I am. But, you do these programs because, hey, maybe one day they decided there's too many people in these mental hospitals. What if we could just give them a check and let them be free and not have all these people, locked away?
Correct.
Which we have more incarcerated people in this country than any country in the world. I mean, it's like number one or number two in the world.
Yeah, we're very high.
So,
correct.
What are we doing? How is disability helping or not helping? I don't know. Anyway, I think we're reasonably intelligent enough to discuss this subject, and I just thought we could have thought that was helpful. I hope you appreciate it.
I did, yes. It was very good to discuss it.
I know. It's I spent 8 years getting my undergrad degree, and it's like I heard it so many times that now I can be the professor. I listen to 4 hour classes, Wow. And I can't believe I survived. Yeah. Sure. One was a dry collective bargaining class. It took 4 hours. And I'm like, wow, this is a great program. These are smart people we elect to create these programs. They're not, they're working. They're trying to figure out what's best.
Sure.
And but I don't have a whole lot. I mean, do you want to keep doing this show? I mean, let's keep it going.
Okay, that'd be fine.
I know Sunday, and I might have a schedule, but I don't think it'll. I think on Sundays I'm not working, so
sure.
I might have a work. All right. So, any forward thinking for this show?
No, why don't we just plan on meeting again next week at this time and talk some more?
Okay. All right then, Neil.
Why don't we turn it over to Sue?
I'm on board.
Sue, can you come on and close us out? I don't know. Sue, did you hear us? We'd like to close us out.
Right.
Well, I'll get off. I'm sure she'll end up
This
closing
is
it.
the World of Ability Podcast Network. Thank you so much to Neil Weber and Tim Trosian for another great episode of WorkAbility. We'll see you next week. We're always here on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. So until next time, we thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sue and Neil. All right.